All right, Paul, thanks for joining the show, man.
Thanks for having me on, Dylan. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to this because you guys are doing something really unique. You have obviously a background in roofing as the owner of a roofing company. You've been very experienced in commercial roofing, and now you've teamed up really with some very influential people in the industry to create the Commercial Roofing Academy. So really looking forward to getting into all of this. And I want to get into your background and all that. Before we dive into all that, I just want to take a minute to thank one of our sponsors. You know, our goal at Limitless is to have people like you on the show, Paul, and it's also to really partner with some of the most effective people in the industry. And all of us in roofing have to use attorneys at times. And so I want to thank one of our sponsors, which is Daly and Black. We've sifted through a lot of different legal firms, and we decided to partner with Daly and Black. And the bottom line is, you know, the insurance companies can use their tactics to delay, defend, or deny. And when that happens, you need an 800-pound gorilla in the courtroom with you, and that's Daly and Black. They have an impressive track record and the experience to back it up. In fact, they've never lost a case. They even helped draft the Texas legal code, and they take things to litigation more than any of their competitors. So I want to encourage any of you out there listening to this or watching this, if you need to bring that 800-pound gorilla to the courtroom, you need to call Daly and Black. You can call them at 833-574-5677, or you can just go to dailyblack.com, and you will not regret that discovery call. You'll be so glad that you took the time to link arms with them. All right. So having said that, we're also excited to use this as a platform for you guys, Paul. So before we get into all the really, really neat stuff that you guys are doing, who are you? What's your role at your company? Stuff like that.
Thanks, Dylan. So my name is obviously Paul Reed, one of the owners of Northwest Roofing here in Denver, Colorado. Worked in a few different states, headquartered out of Denver. I do have a partner named Tom Brown. We've been partners for I believe about 8 years now, and we became one of the larger commercial guys, kind of in definitely in our state, and kind of trying to expand that across the country. So just based here in Denver and transitioned out of the residential world and got more into the commercial world the last 5, 6 years.
That's great. And so when you decided to expand into commercial, what were you thinking? I mean, why did you want to go from being a guy doing mostly residential to commercial?
It's a great question. We were very successful residential company. We were doing from 2 to 3,000 residential roofs a year, and we did well with it, and we had a good reputation and a good name. And to be really honest with you, about 6 years ago, I woke up on January 1st. As we'll probably talk about a little later on. I've been sober for coming up on 14 years, but I woke up on January 1st, 6 years ago, and I was just really kind of sick to my stomach, really, with the kind of impending doom of going, I don't know if I could rebuild the company again this year. I don't know if I have heart to do that, because in the residential world, the residential mindset, you just go crazy all year long. And December 31st, you go to bed and you were successful, and you did 10, 20, 30, $40 million worth of residential roofs. But when you wake up January 1st, you're at zero. And you basically got to restart your company, and you've got to build back again. And you still have the same overhead costs. You saw these costs. And I didn't have it in me anymore. And we had did enough commercial stuff to, I knew at that time that, that process was going to be a 3, 9-month, 12-month process, kind of work in your pipeline. And so knowing that we could come into the next year with actually a pipeline built up, that was a little more appealing to me, because I really just felt like, if I could go into next year, at that time, I don't think my thinking was big enough, but I thought if I could go into next year and on January 1st, I have a $10, $15 million pipeline, man, that's a lot of stress off, because at least I know I'm there and can build off of that. So that was really the start of why we transitioned out of the residential world.
And so when you did that, I'm sure there's guys listening to this, guys and gals watching this, and they're thinking, that's great. Paul got into commercial. He's a successful guy. And by the way, congratulations on that milestone and dedication to sobriety. That's a challenge in and of itself. And I just congratulate you on that. And so but I'd like to deal with a couple of objections that may be in the mind of people watching this. They may think, you know what, I don't have the time to get into commercial roofing. There's a huge knowledge gap between where I am today and where I would have to be successful at that. I can't afford to make costly mistakes, and I don't have the time to be educated, to train somebody and all that stuff. So let's address the big obstacle of time. How do people address that? How do they transition into commercial roofing and not have to start an entirely new business?
It's all going to come down to your mindset, man. It's all about a mindset deal. So here's a great example. I made a Facebook post a couple weeks ago about investment. Right now the big thing when you get on Facebook, every roofer in the world, it seems like they're investing into Bitcoin and Ethereum and all these things, and they're thinking they're just killing it because they're investing it. Here's the fact: not one of them, including myself, have any idea what the hell you're doing. You heard a buddy made a little bit of money and you put $5,000 in, 10 grand in, 100 grand in your money, and you think you're a genius because it doubled overnight. It had nothing to do with you, but you're like, oh, I'm investing and I'm the smartest guy in the room. So here's what I know. Here's one thing that I can control. I can control myself, and I can control an investment into myself. Who's the one person I trust more than anybody in the world? Myself. So what can I control? What can I invest into? So I looked at it as an investment into myself and into the company and back into the people that are with us. I wanted to invest into something that I could really control. There's people make a lot of great investments all the time, on the stock market and things like that, but none of us can control. We lose all control. And maybe I'm greedy and I like my money too much and I don't trust other people to control it. So that was the aspect that I really thought, here's something I can control. So to me, it was an investment. So now we start looking at time. Now that's when we get into our mindset and we know that the reality in residential roofing, fact is today here in Denver, even though there hasn't been a storm in the last like 3 or 4 years, I could probably walk out of this room today. I could go knock on doors today and I could probably sell a residential roof. There's probably about a 95% chance that I'd be able to do that. Today is Tuesday. I'd be able to get the insurance to come on Monday. They're going to buy the roof. I'm going to have the paperwork back, but in about 2-week process, I'm going to have that roof, $15,000 roof. We're going to roof it, blah, blah, month, we're paid, right? So I know I could do that. Commercial world, I also know that it's going to be 3 months at minimum, 6 months probably. More than likely, it's going to be 9 months, maybe even a year. So you have to believe in the mindset of this is the investment I'm going to make. So on the time-wise, most people really mismanage their time. When you start talking to most sales reps, you ask them, well, what's your goal? And they say, well, my goal this month, if we're going to go back in residential, my goal this month is I'm going to sell 5 deals. I'm going to sell 10 deals. So my answer, what I ask them, my question to them is, well, what are you doing the other 25 days of the month? Okay. And that's even how a lot of owners that own companies, their goal is like, well, we're going to try to do 20 roofs this month. Well, what are you doing the other 10 days of the month? So there's time. We just have to be able to do a little bit of time management, kind of understand the numbers. Until you understand the numbers, you're not going to be able to actually manage your time, know what you're really even going for.
No, that's so good. A lot of times you've heard the old saying, if you want something done, ask someone who's busy, because people that are busy and have a lot of responsibilities have been forced to learn how to manage their time, to be proactive instead of reactive, to schedule their calendar based on their goals, 90-day goals, annual goals, et cetera. And so I think, like you said, it really comes down to what do you want to invest in? And then how are you being proactive to set that time up weekly, monthly, and so on. I think that's great. I think basically, if you want it, you're going to go for it. And it just depends on what we want. And so let's get into, with Northwest Roofing, you guys have done a lot of commercial roofing and you've grown that and you've been successful at that. What made you want to start the Commercial Roofing Academy? Tell us about that, who you teamed up with, and why, why did you guys decide to move ahead with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So again, whenever we started out on our path to, transition into the commercial roofing world, there was really nowhere, that you could go and learn about, commercial roofing. There wasn't, the industry was really kind of fractured, and you really couldn't call up your competitor or even your friend and go, hey, what's really going on. So we didn't have anywhere to go when we started. So we just kind of figured it out on our own. We made a lot of could have been fatal errors. We paid, what I like to talk about a lot about is the dump tax. We paid hundreds of thousands of dollars in dump tax. So over the last, I'd say 2-3 years, I've done a lot of private consulting, where different roofing company owners will have me come in and talk to them about, just what they have going on and really just kind of fine tune their company. And so really since then, a lot of them goes, well, why aren't you teaching more about the commercial end of it? And I was like, I just don't have time, blah, blah, whatever. Steve Patrick actually came to me about 18 months ago, and he said, we really should look at putting together an academy, and we could bring this out into the industry. There's a need for it. There's no one really doing it. With our knowledge and who we are as people, I think it'd be really successful, and I think we'd provide a great value to the industry. So we kicked it around for a little bit, and ended up bringing in Jonathan Sherwood as well on there. So he's been a huge part of that for us. And so that was kind of the start of it. But really just because of, people asking, maybe you should do this. And, my wife is also a partner with us in there, Kimberly. And so over the last about a year, we're kind of empty nesters now. So I have a little bit more time and to be able to do that. So time wise, it worked out well for us. And then also, I'm a big believer in giving back to this industry. That's really our biggest why, is just really just being able to give back. There's a part in AA that talks about, unless you're willing to give it back, you can't keep what you have. And so this industry has been so great to myself, my family, and a ton more people. And what a better way than just to be able to bring this out and show people, like, hey, here's the mistakes I made. I've already made the mistakes. You don't need to make the mistakes. Come in for this 2 days class, and then it's going to be a year-long deal, but a quick 2-day quick start, and let us show you how we did it. We're going to open up the playbook of exactly what we do and how we've done it and what we continue to do this day.
That is so cool. It's really neat being, as a podcast host, I get to talk to a lot of guys in the industry that have varying degrees of influence, that are doing different things, adding value, equipping people in all different ways. And I was really excited about this because I don't know anyone else that is doing this. I don't know anybody else that's saying, look, you want to get into commercial? We're going to show you how. We're going to surround you with other people doing it. We've done it. We're going to have some in-person training. We're going to have ongoing training for the rest of the year. And it's going to be a transition process where you don't have to pay the dump tax. Because I know guys that are doing other things in commercial, whether it's sales training or whatever, but nobody's really doing this. And I think a combination of you and Steve Patrick and Jonathan Sherwood and the other people you've surrounded yourselves with, such a unique group of people. I'm really excited to see where it goes. And it's in line with our heart too at Limitless. That's why we do roofing CEO groups, because if you get just 12 people in a room twice a month or once a month for 90 minutes to say, hey, we're having issues with onboarding and hiring. What have the other of those of you in this group done that's worked really well? We're struggling with turnover. Can you shine some light on that? When you bring people together, great things happen. And a lot of guys are just out there operating in isolation. So
It's
that's
crazy.
a dangerous place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And so in the last, since we started, first of the year, we've got companies that are doing, $800,000 a year to companies that do $40 million a year, already in commercial. And so just really the synergy of the room and being able to talk to, another guy that's going through it. I learn every day. I learn from guys that are doing $800,000 a year. I learn from, some of the bigger guys in the industry. And it's about, just putting yourself out there, and actually sometimes just shutting up. That's a problem, as a lot of sales reps and even company owners, especially company owners, actually, we have type A personalities, and we don't want to learn from anybody, and we don't want to admit that this guy may have a better idea than what we do. And one of the things that I teach about is you need to just shut up for a minute, just listen. Like if everything was as great as you say it is, you probably wouldn't be here. You probably wouldn't be asking anybody for help. So why don't you just take this opportunity just to close your mouth just for a few minutes and actually listen. And it's something that I practice myself. I shut up and I listen to when someone else is talking, because if I could take one little nugget out of somebody else, man, that made me that much better.
That's so good. Yeah, the wisest person in the room is usually the one asking the best questions. So let's get into some of the things you guys cover and talk about why and what people can learn as they work with you. And I'd like to kind of start off asking, what's the best way if you're gonna do this, and let's assume somebody's going to work with you guys. What do you help people to do from the get-go if they want to start a commercial roofing division?
Oh man. So the very first thing is stop the residential mindset. Okay, so we got to stop the residential mindset. One of the things that it's a weird concept, but it's a truth. Most guys do not realize how big a company they're actually running. Even a guy that's doing $1 million or $2 million or $3 million a year in revenue as a company, that's a large company. It sounds like the percentage, you're in the top 1% in the entire world if you have a company that's doing over $1 million a year in revenue. So the first thing you have to do is recognize that you're in the top 1% in the world at a $1 million a year company. And so honoring the fact that that's what you have, and realizing that, because this was sad. We woke up one day and I think we did I think it was about 24 million, something like that. We did about 24 million that year. And I'm sitting there with my partner and we were talking about something. And I go, do you realize we're not a mom and pop company? And he was kind of like, what are you talking about? And I said, if you look at how we're really running our company, we're running it as a mom and pop store, and we're doing $24 million a year. And so you can relate that all the way back to someone that's doing $1 million, according to the percentages, right? And so he's like, well, what do you mean? I said, okay, who does our books? Well, the lady that does our books, she has worked for us for a few years, and she's one of our sales reps wives. She really had no formal training. I mean, and she did a good job. I'm not knocking that, but she had no formal training, in accounting, right? She just kind of knew how to classify, whatever. We had one guy that was like in production that he sat behind a desk all day, just sending out orders to Beacon and then, sending some orders to the deal. We're not really professional in the way we dress. You walk into our office and you're like, this is not a $24 million a year office. Not meaning that it was grandiose or anything like that, but just like, we're not professional. Lady answering the phone, she's just like, hello. It wasn't a professional deal. And we're running a $24 million a year company. And so I teach from the beginning, you have to honor and respect who you are and what you're doing. Even if you're doing $1 million a year, you have to treat this. It's not a mom and pop deal. We get to a certain point and we need to have a CFO, right? We need to have a COO. And so we've got to change that mindset of like, because most people, it's so damn easy just to get into roofing and open up a roofing company and go sell $1 million or $2 million, right? And we forget what we actually have, and we don't honor that. So we teach that from the very beginning. Who are we as a company? Okay, so this is where a residential company, we need to own who we are right now. And now we need to learn and we need to figure out like, well, where do we want to go? So at the very beginning, man, we're going to start at that. We're going to start and we're going to figure out who we are as a company and where we want to get to. And then we're going to honor that. So that's where we start. So the residential mindset, that goes out the door. With the residential mindset, in the residential world, worst case scenario, if something happens, I screw up Mrs. Smith's house, guess what it's going to cost me? It's going to cost me about $5 to $6 grand. If I screw it up really bad and I have to go in, I have to rip the whole roof off and I have to put a new roof on, it's going to cost me $5 or $6 grand. So that's not bad. We could all afford that. If we have a roofing company, it's not going to kill us. But guess what? I get in the commercial world and I go out and I sell $1 million deal, and I sell this $1 million flat roof, and I screw it up. How much is it going to cost me? 600, 700, 800,000. So we talk about that residential mindset's all the way. We have to protect our assets. We have to watch our money. We have to know our money. We have to understand numbers, truly understand numbers. I need to know exactly, because when you do a residential job, you just turn it in and someone goes, well, how much is it for? It's like, I don't know. It's like $350 a square. That's good. Roof it. We're in the commercial world. I have to know exactly what my costs are down to the penny. I need to know within 1% what my hard costs are going to be before I even turn this job in. So that's the beginning, man, is getting rid of this residential mindset. And that just goes back to, we're not mom and pop. We're not a mom and pop store. Even if we're doing $1 million a year, we are an actual company. And so that's the start.
That's good stuff. Yeah, you really have to shift from somebody who's got like a startup business to start thinking like an effective CEO and take things to the next level business wise. That's good stuff. So once you get into that and you decide, okay, I want to start thinking this way, I'm gonna take the steps to go there. One of the things that you guys teach is business development. I mean, we all know that sales solves all, but without a sale, nothing else happens. Without a sale, you can't sustain anything. So you guys teach business development. What would you say is the biggest key to business development in commercial roofing?
Consistency and follow-up. Consistency and follow-up. Do you know why most roofing sales reps fail in this industry? There's a couple reasons. One is because a lot of them are lazy and don't understand the numbers and don't understand that, hey, if I talk to 100 people today, I'm probably going to sell a couple deals, which, a couple thousand, whatever. They don't understand their numbers. But secondly is the follow-up. You'll go out and meet with Mrs. Smith, in the residential world, meet with her, and you call her the next day, and then you might call her next Wednesday, and then you kind of forget about it. Like that's the reality of how most people do. And that's how most people do even in the commercial world. When we start talking to property managers, property owners, real estate agents, things like that, their follow-up really sucks. So the first thing that we're really hitting on is being consistent. How do you be consistent with that? That's time management. That's running your calendar, running your schedule. The next thing is really, how do I stand out? How do I separate myself? So again, going back to why we made the transition from the residential roofing company to the commercial is, over 10 years ago in Denver, when we went out into a storm, we would have one block over here and it would be Northwest Roofing. Next block over would be like Interstate Roofing. Next block over would be Metro. Next block over would be Total Home. Like you just that was your areas. Now I go into a residential neighborhood in Denver. There's now something like 6,000 roofing companies in Denver, where there used to be, say, 1,000. So how do I stand out? So that's going to go back into the commercial world, because we're going to eliminate about 5,500 contractors that do residential. They don't mess with the commercial stuff. So I'm only competing against a smaller group, but they're usually better companies. They're a little more refined. So how do I even stand out a little bit more? So a lot of people make a mistake of going, hey, hey, we're Master Elite with GAF, or hey, we're Platinum with Owens Corning. And yeah, we're Master with GAF ourselves, and we have a great partnership and a great relationship with them, and they help us out a ton. But they don't really help me separate, right? Because I have Master Elite, that doesn't mean shit to the property manager. They could care less. So we're going to talk about how do we separate ourselves from these different people. We're going to talk about, hey, the average guy, when he stops in to take to a property manager, they bring a box of donuts. We don't bring donuts, right? Because everyone else does that. The other 99 people already did that. So how do we stand out? How do we build the relationship? The biggest thing that we teach, and the biggest key to my success, has been I honor my partnership with everybody that I'm in business with. So I have a partnership with my manufacturer, GF. I have a partnership with my supplier, Beacon. I have a partnership with my property management company, the Gray Stars of the world. I have a partnership with them. I have a partnership with the Chris Blessings of the world. And we want to go in and we want to actually listen to them, and we want to learn what are their needs. Because even though as a roofing sales rep, I think that everybody in the world wants me to come in and replace the roof. That's the last thing that they want. They don't want to replace the roof. They don't want to spend $1 million of their CapEx money on replacing this roof. They don't want to have to put in an insurance claim. So what does that mean? So that means I'm going to come in, I'm going to figure a partnership with them, and I'm going to service them, and I'm going to do repairs, I'm going to do maintenance, I'm going to do all these things to where I'm a partner over the next 20 years with them. And when they need a roof, who are they going to call? They're going to call me because I've been a partner with them for all these years, instead of walking in with a box of donuts saying, hey, I'm here to replace your roof. They don't want to know that. They don't want to hear that. They want a partner. So that is one thing. I know my students at the Commercial Roofing Academy, you get sick of hearing me say partnership, partnership, partnership. But the guys that have actually listened to that and paid attention, they're now calling me back going, holy moly, the partnership, man. When I truly understand what a partnership is, look at what we're doing, and we're signing these contracts, and we're making these maintenance agreements, and we're servicing this customer. So that's a big one.
That's good stuff. I mean, you're really thinking long term about the relationship. And we all come across people who you can tell within the first 10 minutes or so that they're really more concerned about what they have going on than any kind of partnership you could form or how you guys could help each other. They're really looking to see how you could help them. And sales reps do that all the time when they walk in, like you said, to a property management company to drop the donuts off. They go in, and from go, everything they say and do says, I'm here for me. And when you shift that and make it the opposite, that, hey, I'm here for you, you're on a journey with its own challenges as a property management company or whatever it is. I want to make that easier. I want to make your job easier in any way possible. It's a totally different situation.
Yeah, exactly. And they appreciate that. They want their job to be easier. They want to know that when they call me, that I'm going to show up, I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do. They watch for the consistency, because a lot of companies have joined the different associations, the apartment associations, the CAIs of the world. Everybody went in and spent $1,000 to go to that event and do all these things. And here's what happens. You're never going to get business off of that. The first time that you go, you're never going to get any business off of it. So I promise you, if you keep going to all those events and you keep up with the investment to go to all those events, that you're going to get that business eventually. They know that you were just showed up. They've been here. They've been in that association for 10 years. They know what roofing companies have been there. They're going to see you walk in, and you're going to go to this event. You're going to have a big, nice booth. You're going to be great, and you're going to say all the right things. And then guess what? The next one that's in July, you don't go to. They know that you didn't go. And then you pop up to one in November, and then they're wondering, like, well, this guy's not even consistent in the way that he markets. He's not going to be consistent in the way that he does business with me. They don't even consider you at that point. So we cover all of those type of things of how to be consistent, and how to create like a raving fan culture, for your customers.
That's good stuff. Well, let me ask you this. I know this isn't really in line with, or this isn't from all the stuff you guys teach, but it's kind of a nagging question I've got that I hear from time to time. And that is, what's the sweet spot for the kind of commercial jobs you're trying to get? Because we all know that if you go a little too big, I mean, I've got a buddy that runs jobs for the Conlon Company here in Dallas. And I mean, they're building 1,000,000 square foot warehouses all over the place. And those roofs are massive. Well, guess what? If you go bid on that roof, you better have some serious relationships with manufacturers set up, or you're not even going to be able to do it for cost. So what's the sweet spot? How do you get in there and not go too little or even try to go too big and play with guys that are on a national scale?
So that's where the value is going to be. I said we do the 2-day quick start. The true value is going to be the rest of the year, to when, you have access to, like myself, Jonathan, or Steve, into our monthly webinars and things that we have in our portals, our online portal. We're going to come in and, get on the phone with you after the deal. We're going to kind of figure out your company a little bit and kind of see where you're at. So like right now, I have a guy, that's actually going to be attending this weekend. He's got a job, and his specialty is really not flat roofs. He's, they've done a few, but it's not his wheelhouse. They're more, steep slope guys. And so what he's been able to do is bring this job, to me to help him walk through it, to bid it, to scope it out. And we look at it and we have an honest conversation. and we go, is this a little bit over your head? Number one, do you understand the system that you're actually going to be installing, that you're trying to sell? Do you have crews that are able to do it? Not just your shingle guy when you ask him like, hey, can you do 2PO? And they go, oh yeah, we could do TPO, or, we could do EPDM. So that happens to everybody, and then it's a complete nightmare. So what we do is we kind of have that honest conversation of, are you able to do this financially? Because when we dig through this thing, we're going to have to be able to put out 200,000 up front to do this job. They're only going to pay us 142,000 to begin with. Can you float that, $68,000, and then we're not going to get paid for 2 months? So we have those honest conversations, and sometimes it's hard for a roofing company owner to do that, because again, we're type A personalities, and we all have these huge egos that we're men, and we beat our chest and we say, oh, I could do it. And that may not be the reality. And sometimes that's what happens in our industry. Is I like to say, you hear about roofing contractors, and they're the kind of the scourge of the earth, and everyone hates them because they rip people off. Guess why most of the time they rip them off? Most of the time it wasn't intentional. Most of the time you have some people that go out and steal first checks, and they were very intentional doing that. But I would really say 95% of the time, what happens is that company got oversold. They oversold their capabilities. So I've worked with you individually as a company, and we're going to figure your capabilities out. So I look at it, and again, when I said we have students that are 800,000 to 40 million, 40 million, they could take on about anything. But these guys that are 800,000 or 2 or 3 million, maybe they can't do it because of cash flow. Maybe they don't understand the system, and that's where we really start. And so I recommend to these guys, like, hey, maybe we don't go chase this, large 4,000 square multifamily job, but here's what we can do. See that dentist office over there? And it's 232 squares of shingles. Let's go get that one. Let's start with here. Let's kind of build our portfolio. Let's go sell that dentist office. Hey, let's go sell that vet clinic. Right now, let's go sell that little restaurant over there. And so we start that way, and we kind of put everybody on a path of like, here's how we're going to build this up. So we're going to do this for a year, and then we're going to get confidence. We're going to get a little bankroll. We're going to understand systems better. We're going to build our portfolio and show like, hey, we roofed this dentist office, we roofed this doctor's office, we roofed the vet clinic, and now we're going to start going. Now we're going to get a little more into the 200 square TPOs. Now we're going to be able to get into the 4,000 square multifamily.
That's good stuff. So it really goes back to investment. You're investing in a long-term strategy to grow your company. And it would be way better to have 3 small to medium-sized wins than 1 colossal loss. And so I love the way you guys are approaching that. And we've even got some questions coming up. I'll save some time in the last 10 minutes or so for Q&A. So anybody watching live can feel free to post your question there, and we will get to that. But that leads to my next question, Paul. What's the biggest mistake you see over and over again as guys are getting into their first 1 to 2 commercial jobs?
Pride and ego. Pride and ego are the biggest mistakes. I see them all the time. All the time. They come in and they get an opportunity, because you can stumble upon an opportunity. Your sister's boyfriend's uncle owns some building and walks you in, and you could sell a job, and you have a roofing company, and I'm the greatest roofer in the world, and kind of forgetting sometimes that maybe you don't have any experience actually roofing, because, hey man, this is the reality. 9 out of 10 roofing company owners, they work for somebody else. They came in, they used to sell cars or something, or they're a real estate agent. And they went to work for somebody, and then they didn't get paid supposedly. And so then they went and started their own roofing company. But they've never even swung a hammer in their life. They've never tore off a roof. They've never done any of those things. And so next thing you know, they've been successful going out and selling some residential deals. They get a little money in their pocket, and then they actually introduce themselves as like, I'm a roofer. No, you're not a roofer. You don't even know what the hell roofing is. You rely on some dude that you hired off of Craigslist to go put your roof on. You have no idea if it's even done right. So, but our pride and ego tells us that we're experts in this field. So what happens is you go and you sell this job, one of your reps sold it or you sold it, however it worked. And you're like, oh, hell yeah, we could do that. But then, deep down, you're going like, well, maybe I should bring in somebody. But then your greed at that point is telling you, well, if I bring in somebody and I got to partner with them, then I'm going to mean like instead of me making $243,000, I'm only going to make $120,000. So their pride, their ego, and their greed screws them up. So I'll give you a great example. I think about 4 years ago, I had an opportunity to do a large HOA community, and it was about 4,000 square concrete tile. So at that point, I'd never done a large HOA community of tile, right? If there's a shingle job, that's easy, but this was tile, and it was a beautiful, very high-end community. And I look at it, and I sat there one day and I thought to myself, can I truly walk in front of this board and tell them I am the best person for this job? My pride and ego told me, oh, absolutely, dude. Do it all the time. Just go tell them that. And I was like, there's no way I could do that. So I actually partnered up with Eric Hunter, right? Who knows tile more than Eric Hunter at Precision? I called up Eric and I said, hey, let's partner up on this one, on the tile part of it. And, everybody's going to make a little bit of money and we'll see what happens. And so we were able to eliminate our pride and ego and go in, and guess what? The customer was happy. Now that job is still with the insurance company. That's been a horrible battle, and we've had to bring in lawyers and PAs and all that fun stuff. But guess what? The roofs got done great. We've never had a problem with any of the roofs, but if I would have tried to tackle that myself, we probably could have gotten in a bad problem. So pride, ego, and greed, man, you got to eliminate those things and actually understand your numbers and what that really looks like.
Man, that's so good. You didn't say anything about material, process, crews, any of that. You went straight to the heart of the leader. And I think that's
Yeah.
a great challenge for anybody listening or watching this. It really comes down to your own personal self-leadership and your identity. I mean, are you out there to try to prove something, or are you out there to really serve people well and make it about them and not about you? That's just so good. And we all need to hear that every day. We need to hear that it's about something way more important than us trying to prove to other people, to be impressed by us or something like that.
Well, and that's how we build sustainability, brother. Like, you're not going to have sustainability in your company unless you have those things. Because if you allow the greed and all that stuff to come in, there's a reason why, I don't remember the numbers, that like 80% of all roofing companies fail within the first year or two. It's because of that. So I'm all about sustainability and legacy.
So good. So good. So let's say somebody joins CRA, they start getting some one-on-one coaching with you guys, which is going to be stellar because it's one-on-one, very, very specific interaction based on where they are at, what they can do. One of the things that you guys go into is how to build a repair and maintenance program. So I've heard this from many guys, even guys that are in our CEO groups, that they swear that is the bread and butter of the business, and that's how you get into other bigger re-roofing jobs and stuff like that. So what's the important part of getting into repair and maintenance?
Oh, it's huge. It's my biggest marketing. It's my best marketing. Everybody's looking for all these great ways to market and create funnels and blah blah, all these crazy things. And I look at it as my repair division is my best marketing. So, we talked a little bit ago about the business development. And so doing the business development, we're getting these people out and they're talking to property managers or property owners every single day. And when they're able to actually go in and say, hey, we have a repair department, an actual repair department, because most companies, their repair departments, what they think, they're like, oh yeah, we do repairs. But what it is they have their little residential guys. They're over there, roofing this 32 square job over in, Fort Worth. And you call them up, say, oh, we got a leak over somewhere on this building. Can you go over and do it? And they're like, yeah, we could do it. And finally, about 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, when they're trying to wrap up that residential job, they take a couple guys off the crew and send them over there. You have no idea if they showed up, blah, blah, blah. And repairs suck, because then they sent you an invoice for $1,800 and you only charged $1,000. And so you hate repairs. So we dialed that in, and we developed a repair division, actual employees with the service tech and the manager, and we go out and we do repairs, and you can run a very lucrative repair division. Um, and it's also great marketing because we set it up to where we service the heck out of these people, and we help them out in our partnership. Going back to partnership, this is who we are and what we're going to do in our partnership. We're going to service you guys. We have a model that says repair, maintain, replace, and we really try to live by that. So we're going to go out and we're going to repair what's going on. We're going to maintain this property until you have to replace the roof eventually. And that might be 5 years, it might be 10 years, it might be 20 years down the road. We don't know, but we're going to put them on a path. So the repair department is the biggest and best thing that you could possibly do as a roofing company, is to set up an actual repair division. We do a few $1,000,000 a year in repairs, and it runs very well. It's our best marketing, and it's profitable.
That's so good. Yep. I've heard from a lot of guys, it's the most profitable business line they have as far as their commercial side goes. And like you said, it's a way to build relationships. And when they do need a roof replacement, of course, they're going to go with you if you've built a good relationship and earned their trust, done what you said you would did. So that kind of leads to the next thing, though. Some guys may be thinking, hey, I looked into repairing a commercial roof like that dentist office you said, but they asked me to give me an estimate for a repair. And then they also said they were interested in a liquid applied system. But then I started Googling liquid applied systems. There's all these options out there. I was thinking TPO, and I know a guy that's done TPO. So how do you get through the maze of all the options out there for commercial roofing systems?
It's about learning your craft, right? It's about learning your craft. When you really think about it, and as company owners and sales reps even, how many people actually understand roofing, right? They learn how to sell, and they do all these things, and they learn the difference between a class 4 shingle and a regular shingle, and that white stuff is TPO, or maybe it's PVC, and I think the black stuff is EPDM. If you really want to be successful in this, so you've got to learn about roofing. It's no different. Like if you were to move to France and you were going to be there the next 10 years, would you learn how to speak French, or would you just try to get by, right? Like people that are going to flourish and really enjoy their life and do well, they move to France, they're going to learn French. So I'm in roofing, and this is what I'm going to do the next 5 or 10 years, or however long you think you're going to do it. Why would you not learn everything you possibly can about what you're actually selling? There are so many reps and so many company owners that don't even know what the hell they're like, I don't know, it's white. I don't even know what it is. It doesn't take that long to do that, because use your partnership with your manufacturer. They all have these classes. They all have webinars right now of like, hey, we're going to learn about TPO roofing this week. We're going to learn about, metal this week. We're going to learn about this or that. We're going to learn about fluid applied, systems. They all want to teach you. So like at our office, we literally have a manufacturer in probably twice a month, different manufacturer, from, the fluid guys to, to the low slope of GAF and the steep slope of GAF. And next week will be a ventilation guy that comes in, so we're always constantly learning. You've got to learn your craft. So whenever a dentist office comes up, because they don't know anything about it, you know what, that dentist, why he's successful and he owns that building? He learned everything about dentistry. I mean, it's simple as that. He learned everything about dentistry, and he's a great dentist. Why wouldn't I learn everything about roofing? And so when I go to this job, and someone was there before me, and it was some, young kid, snot-nosed kid that went and told them like, hey, we should coat this job, and it's going to save you a bunch of money. So in that dentist's mind, he's going like, yeah, that'd be a great idea. This some kid told me that we should put a coating on this job. And if I know anything about coatings, I'm going to go in, and maybe that's a great system. We do a lot of coatings ourselves, but I'm going to look at it, and I'm going to give an evaluation, and I'm going to say, maybe this isn't the best solution. Maybe this roof has moisture underneath it, and we can't do that. We're going to have to tear the whole thing off. But if I didn't know that, and I just matched what someone else said they were going to do, Now all of a sudden I have that liability because the coating system failed, next year because there was moisture trapped under the dill. So you've got to learn your craft. And that way you can talk, you are the professional, because I'm not going to let any property owner tell me how they think that I should roof their building. I am the expert. I own my space, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to let them know, like, hey, I don't really care what say it politely, obviously. I don't really care what you've heard, but that's not how this should work. And we need to do it this way. And here's the cost for that. I'm the expert. This is my field. I know what I'm talking about. And then we're going to back up.
That's so good. Yeah, the only way you can really become a trusted advisor is by speaking with authority on roofing, and the only way you can get there is through your knowledge and experience. And you can tell it. You can tell when somebody's talking and it just doesn't smell right. You can tell they're kind of going with a very limited amount of knowledge. But when you sit across from somebody who says, "Look, I know this is what you heard, but here's the pros and cons of that." Based on your budget and this type of system, here's what I think is your best option, option A, option B. Then people can deal with you telling them they don't know what they're talking about, as long as you
Right.
do. And I think that is really our responsibility too. I mean, you're a steward. You're entrusted with this large amount of money for this property to put that roof on. It's your responsibility to exercise some leadership and tell that property owner, tell that client, this is what you need and here's why. And I know you think this is what you need, but here's why that's not good. You need to be able to exercise some leadership. Because to me, it's frustrating when I don't care what it is, whether it's investing or roofing or whatever. When I sit across from somebody and I ask them, what should I do? And they say, well, you could do this and you could do that, or you could do that and you could do that. Well, I'm asking you a question about something I don't know a lot about. You need to tell me what I should do and why I should do it, because you just gave me way too many options. And
You're exactly right, because that's going to be our partnership. I'm going to develop that partnership with them, and I'm going to let them know, like, hey, this is my field. I'm the expert on this. Your field is, you lease out this building and, however you do that. But my expertise is in this roofing and the system that's going to be the best for you on your ROI. They're always looking at ROI, right? They're a business. They own that building because they're in an investment. They're invested into this property. So how can I give them back an ROI that's gonna help them? So we sat down and we figured that out. And I show them, this is my field. I am the expert in this. This is how we're going to be able to do this. It's going to provide the best value and the best ROI for your property. Here's the cool thing. If I'm able to do that with this one property owner or this one property manager, guess who property owners and property managers roll around with? Other property owners and other property managers. And guess what they're going to tell them? Paul Reed at Northwestern, he knows what the hell he's talking about, man. This guy came in here and he provided a solution that no one else could provide, and they pulled it off and they did it, and it was great working with, and you need to use that.
It's so good. Yep. It's all about building that relationship and serving and empowering others through your knowledge and your experience. So one of the things, we've talked about the business development side and how you guys have a unique approach to that. You talked about evaluating your current financial state, getting into commercial, making sure you get into the right jobs. We talked about repair and maintenance. One of the things that I know is critical to you guys is knowing your numbers and also your KPIs. So for guys that don't have a lot of experience in commercial roofing, what are a few of the big KPIs that they need to think about?
Well, that will start with your business development reps, right? So your business development reps, if you look at most sales reps fail, right? And the reality, the whole grand scheme of things in roofing, when someone goes out and make this big hiring push, the owner knows that if he brings in 10 people, that probably 9 of them are going to fail, right? A couple of those guys were not very good, blah, blah, blah. They'd have a hard time anywhere. But there's always a bunch of guys that we miss because we don't really manage them and we don't really assist them with their time, and they don't understand the numbers. And so what's going to start for us in the business development side of the KPIs of going, here is your actual job description and here's what you have to do every day. So we set it up, and depending on like what that business development rep is marketing to, if this rep is into the multifamily sector, I'm going to give them a certain number. I'm going to say, well, listen, I need you to stop in at 10 different apartment complexes today. And I need you to, talk about repairs and maintenance and all those things. And I need you to do this. And after you're done with those 10, then I'm going to give you a number and I need you to call 12 more properties and I set up an appointment for tomorrow. And then I need you to send out 5 emails. So we're going to direct exactly, instead of just going how most guys do, they just tell their rep, go sell something. And they have no idea if they're going to work. They have no idea that it's 11 o'clock in the morning and that rep ain't even out of bed yet. So what we do is we start our day. We have a meeting every morning at 8 o'clock, at 8:15. 8:15, it's on Zoom, so everybody's up. They're not in their pajamas, and they start their day. And so it's going to start with the KPIs, and you customize that to, your market to where that's at. But here's the amount of people you have to talk to every day. You want to keep this job, you have to talk to this amount of people. And after so many months, this is the pipeline and this is how big your pipeline should be. And here's how many opportunities you have. Because I look at everything as an opportunity. So the more opportunities that these guys get, the better chance we have to succeed. So it's going to be keeping track of what they're actually doing. Here's their job description, how many people they got to talk to, and then what does their opportunities look like.
It's really good. You guys are creating a very clear dashboard so that that owner can say, here's my expectations of you. Here's how we're going to keep score. Here's how you know whether you're doing well or not. And it's not going to be this big fuzzy thing of go out there and generate business. It's going to be very specific. And that's one of the things that EOS, as an EOS implementer, that's something we teach is you got to give your people 90-day goals. And those goals turn into very specific things each week, whether, like you said, it's how many apartment property managers you talk to each week or whatever. And when you do that, I think for a lot of people, it brings a lot of clarity and it makes things simple. It's harder, I think, if it's, hey, just grind it out, go out there, generate business. That's a really, how am I hitting that goal?
Well, they need to know what they're working for as well. So on the different pay structures, if I have a business development rep and they're on a salary, they need to know here's the dues they have. And then if they're getting a percentage off of the job, we need to know what their goals are. Is this guy's goal to make $250,000 a year? Okay, well, we know his pay structure and we know that he's going to get, call it 5% or whatever, off of each job. So how many jobs do you need to sell to get 250,000? Well, making up the math, he needs to sell $4 million worth of properties. So what does that look like? For us, our average job ticket was something like $450,000 here in the Denver market. So my average ticket's $450. We're going to try to sell $5 million worth of jobs. That means that you've got to sell, 12 jobs. So that means you got to sell one job a month. You got to roof one job a month. So how many people do you got to talk to get that many opportunities? So again, there's your KPIs of here's your personal, professional, and finance goals that you want to get. And they need to have a path because otherwise, most people left to their own device, they're good making $40,000 a year. They don't understand that they could actually go out and make a few $100,000. If I could put them on this path and they could go out and they make that 250,000, and then at the end of the year we could sit down and go, okay, how easy was that? What did you do? Like, what can we do to make you get $400,000 or $500,000? Like, what it took to do the 250. Now, how can we build on you? So it's all trackable and it's all scalable, and there's a path to all of that stuff. And that's, again, there's the Commercial Roofing Academy that we break that down as for reps and then for company owners as well.
That's good stuff. So you guys, it sounds like you guys really do if you were to break the business down into 3 major areas, any business really comes down to sales and marketing, operations, and finance. You guys clearly have a training curriculum and a path on the sales and business development side. You get into your operations with the maintenance and different product knowledge and systems and stuff like that. On the finance side, we can't dig real deep into it because we got about 5 minutes left here. But what would you say is the key to the finance side, the biggest, most important thing that you guys teach on that?
Knowing your numbers. Most guys, if you ask most guys, like, what's your EBITDA? They go, what? What's EBITDA? They have no idea what the EBITDA is. They have no idea if they're actually, even profitable. They're like, well, I'm assuming we're profitable because, there's $84,000 in the bank. So I guess we are. but we dig in and we really teach you of understanding your numbers and the difference between like cash accounting and accrual accounting. There's most guys have no idea that if you're running a certain size business, that you're supposed to be over on accrual accounting. So knowing your numbers is super important. So we dig into that, um, kind of on a micro level to begin with. Obviously, it's a 2-day deal to begin with, but we touch on that of actually knowing your numbers and learning what your EBITDA is and knowing, are these jobs profitable? Like looking at it, because a lot of guys, they're on a 10-50-50 split with their rep. They don't even know what the hell that 10% is. Like what's your actual overhead cost? And I mean, I'll say this, up until probably, 3-4 years ago, we knew that we were charging, an overhead because somebody told us years ago, you're supposed to charge 10%. We didn't realize at that point we were actually running like 14% was what our actual cost was. Our actual overhead was 14%. We were charging everybody 10%. So we were losing 4%. Where does that 4% come out of? It comes directly out of my pocket, right? On that deal. So we had to raise the office cost to get that out. So we want to know exactly what our office costs are, what they go for, and we want to get in with the financial part of it. We start looking at the different insurances. When you look at that, like a lot of guys don't realize that their insurance, they might not even be able to roof a duplex because their insurance excludes duplexes. They don't even have insurance for it. They don't have insurance for mold or on that. So the financial part of it digs even a little bit deeper. And again, we can talk about that for an hour, but I think we've got a couple minutes left. But that's something that we really get into.
Man, that's good stuff. If I wasn't, our thing with Limitless is bringing leaders together in CEO groups. But if I was going to start a commercial roofing division, I mean, I'd sign up today. And I'm not just, I'm kind of like you, man. I'm a straight shooter. I don't say stuff to make people feel good. I really say what I believe. And I just think it's foolish to build out an entirely new line of business and pay the dumb tax. It's just a very unwise decision. You're not going to have a good story to tell when you look back after 5 years. You're going to have a story fraught with difficulty and hopefully eventually a good story to tell. But I think, why not shortcut it, streamline the path to success, partner with other people, surround yourself with wise people, and do it that way. So we do have a couple of questions here. Eric Richardson said, any advice on large scale jobs with material shortage? TPO is getting hard to find.
Yes, I do. So guys, that you guys heard me talk about partnerships. So I'm going to go back to like that storm last year, like in Iowa, the Rock, or how you say, everybody says it differently, but that big storm that happened in Iowa, there was material shortages last year up there. We were able to go in from Denver, right? Based out of Denver. I walk into Iowa and I'm doing thousands of squares a week. Why? Because I had a relationship with my suppliers. You guys need to be intentional with your relationship. Most company owners, here's their interaction with their suppliers. You're charging me too damn much for shingles, and I'm only going to pay 84 a square, blah, blah, blah. We learned years ago that every year at the beginning of the year, we sat down with our supplier and we go, here's what we expect we're going to do this year. We think we're going to do $20 million this year. So blah, blah, we're going to do 10,000 square TPO. Here's our goals. Here's where we're going to be. Here's what I need you guys to be ready for. So right now it's almost a little bit too late, but you got to start. If you haven't done this, you got to start today. Build your relationship and your partnership with the suppliers. You got to be intentional with them. Don't beat the shit out of them every day on pricing or service or those things. You got to understand they're in business as well. Get your relationship with those guys done. So if you don't have that right now, I've heard from 2 different main suppliers in the countries that it's going to come down to, they're going to do business this year with the people they like. That's who they're doing business with. So if you've been a jackass to your suppliers over the last few years, yelling at them about something, you're probably not going to get product.
Yep. No, and they can't wave a magic wand and make the manufacturers ship a bunch of product to different areas of the nation either. But when you give them a heads up, they can give the manufacturer a heads up, and it absolutely affects the supply chain. So I think that's great advice. Well, Paul, we could get into so much here. I think we need to have a follow-up interview maybe in 6 months or so, and just go even deeper, maybe focus on one or two of these and just go super deep, because you're going to have a lot of people. I think this is going to stir up a lot of questions with people listening. What's just one big parting piece of advice you'd have for anybody listening to this that's thinking, I'd like to get into commercial. I'll check out the Commercial Roofing Academy a little bit. What's a parting piece of advice you have based on what you've learned so far?
Man, I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to come back to our pride and ego, right? Our pride and ego gets in the way of a lot of things. It's hard sometimes to reach out to somebody else and actually admit to them, like, I don't really know what I'm doing. And you know what? That's okay. You're going to save yourself so much time, so much money by being able to do that. So we put this together again. Yes, it's a business, the Commercial Roofing Academy, but the biggest reason we did that is so we can give back to the industry. That's why we want to get back to the industry. If someone has already created the path for this, follow that path. You don't have to create your own path. I train people that are in my own markets, because guess what? There's plenty of roofs out here for everybody. It's not going to affect me one damn roof because I'm training different people how to go do this. It's not going to affect you any as well. It's going to make you better if you can actually just stop and go, these guys have already made the mistakes. Let me learn from their mistakes. Let me learn from their successes. If I'm able to do that and I humble myself with my pride and my ego, I'm going to be successful. And I have a ridiculous opportunity because most of us that are in the roofing industry, most of us came from nothing. Your parents made $20,000 a year. You have the opportunity to go out and make, a few $100,000, millions of dollars. Why not maximize this? We're not getting any younger. Jump on. Let us help you guys. I promise you the value is there.
So good. Well, for those of you listening, watching, I put the link to the Commercial Roofing Academy in the details of this show. I'll also post the link if you listen to this in iTunes in a few days when it's live on iTunes. The link will be in there as well. You owe it to yourself to reach out to these guys. If you're going to climb Mount Everest, you better make sure you got the right gear and the right plan, because it's a massive undertaking, and it'd be foolish and probably deadly to go out there doing it, not knowing what you're doing. And starting a new line of business is the same way. There's no need to try to learn what the right tools and process and system are on your own. So I just want to challenge anybody out there. You really owe it to yourself to reach out to these guys and talk to Paul or Jonathan or whoever, and at least a discovery call to figure out what they offer. I think you'll be really glad you did that. So Paul, thanks so much for joining the show, man. We appreciate having you on.
Thanks, Dylan. Really enjoyed it, brother. See you soon.